共请大德圣定，为此法会集一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, return the wonderful Dharma will to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati sanmiao sanputoche. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zhao yi. 我今见闻得受者，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Okay, let's recite Minister Master Buddha's name before we go into the greetings. Namo, quelling disasters, lending life, medicine master, Buddha. 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 Medicine master does come one, medicine master does come one, medicine master does come one, medicine master does come one. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Noble Master, and all good knowing advisors, welcome back. This is this week. Today is class number 100. Let me see, 101, 101. Okay. So while I'm getting the slides up, Ron, you had a question. Would you mind sharing your question with everyone?
Yes, Masha Amitopo. Last week when you were talking about, you covered many subjects, but one was about merits and blessings, and I kind of got confused because it seemed like it's hard to get get merits. Like, so my question and doubt is like, if we attend a Dharma assembly like this class, you know, are we getting merits from this or not?
Okay, so everyone got a question. Ron's question is, when is it merit and when is it blessings? And for example, all of you listening either online right now or listening through YouTube, is what you are doing accruing merit or blessings? Okay. So luckily for Ron, after last week's class, there were a number of questions about two things. First, kind of similar to Ron's question about merit and blessings. And the second one, a bit more popular, was about spirits. I guess people like to talk about spirits. So what we're going to do today is we'll first start off with merits and blessings by looking at what the four kinds of karma is, because it's related. And then we'll look at Ron's question, which is where does merit come from? And then I have a few stories. I have a few stories. For example, there's a story, and this is very interesting. There's a story where Shariputra, Venerable Shariputra, gave the Buddha a bowl of rice. Okay, he gave the Buddha a bowl of rice. And immediately after, the Buddha took the same bowl of rice and the Buddha gave it to a dog. Okay, and then the Buddha asked Venerable Shariputra, who gained more merit? Did you gain more merit by giving me, the Tathagata, a bowl of rice? Or did the Tathagata gain more merit by giving it to a dog? Okay, so that's one of the stories we're going to look at. And if anyone wants to try giving an answer, you can type it into the chat box or you can just unmute your mic. Okay, so the question is, we're going to find out, is Shariputra gives a bowl of rice to the Buddha, and compared to the Buddha, immediately after that, takes the same bowl of rice and gives it to a dog. And then the Buddha asked Shariputra, who has more merit, you or me? It's like a contest. Then we'll look at Vimalakirti, the Vimalakirti Sutra, because Vimalakirti Sutra, he gets a gift, and he also he divides the gift, but it's not a comparison, but it's a result of proper giving. And then we look at someone who, during the Buddha's time, her name was Vishaka, and I'll speak more about that. And then after that, we'll go to protection from spirits. Okay, so why are we spending time between merit and blessings? Okay, let me show you why. Before we go into excuse me, the difference between merit and blessings. Okay, from the perspective of karma, there's this sutra called the Ariya Magga Sutta. Okay, sutta means sutra as well. It's just in Sanskrit it's called a sutra, spelled with an R. In the Pali language is sutta with two T's instead of one T and one R. So in this sutra or sutta, the Buddha said, mendicants, meaning the monks, I declare these four kinds of karma, having realized them in my own insight. What for? Okay, so the Buddha says there are four kinds of karma. So the first karma is dark karma with dark results. The second is bright karma with bright results. The third is bright and dark karma with dark and bright results. And number four, neither dark nor bright karma with neither dark nor bright results, which lead to the ending of karma. Okay, so number four is what we want to pay attention to. Okay, and why is it called neither dark nor bright karma? And why is it that bright karma doesn't, there seems to be a hint that we don't really want bright karma? Not, okay, let's just go through the whole sutra first. So in case you're wondering what is dark karma and what is bright karma and all that, okay, here the Buddha explains, say what is dark karma with dark results is when someone makes hurtful choices by way of body, speech, and mind. Basically, dark karma means whenever you do something, you're planting the causes for a future event that when it happens to you, you're not going to be happy. Okay, when it happens to you, you're going to be miserable and you're going to wish that it didn't happen to you. Okay, examples, ask yourself, what are things that you do not want to happen to you? People stealing your money, people hurting you, people scolding you, people gossiping about you, What else? People having a bad impression about who you are, people being unfair to you, people treating you for what you look like, or rather than your heart. Rather than looking at your heart or your intention, they don't care about that. All they care about is the outside of you, who you represent, or how much money you have. Okay, that's called dark karma. Dark karma is when you do certain things that makes you that plant the you are planting the seeds for these future conditions to arise. Then it happens to you. Okay, so that's called dark karma. Things that you don't like, people suing you, you losing money, okay, and being unsuccessful in business, poor, bad health, things like that. Bright karma is just the opposite. Bright karma makes you very happy. When things happen to you that makes you happy, is because in the past you planted the causes for these things to happen. So what's that? Some people are famous. They like being famous. Technically being famous is not that great, but some people like it. Being well off, having a lot of wealth. What else? Good health, good reputation. You don't offend people when you speak to them. People like you because you have a good personality. What else? Maybe knowing about the Dharma and being able, even on the late Sunday evening or very early morning, if you're from the US, finding the vigor to join in a class like this. So that's bright karma. When it happens to you, because you made certain choices before, when the results happen, it makes you very happy. You don't regret at all. And then what is dark and bright karma? That is karma that's mixed. Basically, most people's karma are mixed. Sometimes people are very rich, but they have a terrible family, or they win the lottery and then they find out that they don't really have any friends, or their friends try to cheat them, or they end up destroying their families, their relationships, something like that. There's good and bad at the same time. So it's kind of mixed. So that's bright and dark karma. Okay. So let's look at the fourth one. And what are neither bright nor dark karma with neither dark nor bright results? This leads to the end of karma, meaning to the end of suffering, to the end of birth and death. That means you become a sage, you become like the Buddha. So anything that's based on right view, right thought, right speech, right action. Right thought is also right intention. Last week we used the word right intention. Right livelihood, the way you earn your income, the way you earn your living. Right effort, which is the effort you put into your practice. Right mindfulness and right immersion, that has to do with meditation. The Buddha says these are called neither dark nor bright karma, which leads to the end of karma. This is what merit is. Okay, merit is neither dark nor bright karma, because it doesn't directly bring you back into rebirth. It helps you get out of birth and death, of samsara, of the rounds of being born and dying, and being born and dying again. So neither bright nor dark karma is another word for merit. All right. Now, if you look at blessings is bright karma. Okay, so bright karma is blessings. But why is bright karma not seen as a positive thing? It is a positive thing. Okay, the Buddha always teaches people to practice generosity. And in the beginning, if you don't really understand what right intention is, then a lot of the generosity that we perform gives rise to blessings. And blessings can be used in various ways to generate more blessings or more merit. So blessings in itself is not necessarily bad, but blessings are still tied to the realm of to the conditioned realm. Okay, so the only way you can get rich is to be reborn again. Those kind of karma, although it's called bright karma and it gives you a good life, it's the same kind of karma that causes you to be reborn again and again and again. So that's why you may be born with a very good life, but it's not going to help you end birth and death. They are two totally separate things. Okay? Anyone got that? Anyone has any questions or any doubts? Because I probably didn't do a very good job last week. Is why there are some questions. So hopefully I do a better job today. All right. Okay, if you have any questions, just type in the chat box or just, unmute your mic. Okay. And now I have a passage or a verse from the Song of Awakening or the Song of Enlightenment by Master Yongjia. And this is what he says about the difference between how we do generosity and the difference between merits and blessings. Okay. This is what he says. Giving with attachment merely creates heavenly blessings. Just as an arrow shot into the sky will fall back down when its energy is spent, one will invite misfortune in future lives. Okay, so what does this mean? When we give something and we give it attachment means we are emotionally or we are kind of connected to the gift or the giver, which is yourself, or to the recipient, which is the person receiving the gift. Sometimes people give for fame. Some people do a lot of charity, but their main reason for performing charity is because they want to be well known. They want to be famous. So that's an example of giving with attachment. All right. Another example of giving with attachment is some people say, okay, I want to be reborn in the heavens. So this is why I'm giving to the triple jewel. Or they say, I want to be born with a lot of wisdom. No, let me see, wisdom. Okay, maybe not wisdom, because I have to unpack that example. But when you wish for worldly things, okay, when you wish for worldly things that are connected to the world around us as a result of your giving, you can say it's giving with attachment. Ron, you have a question?
Yes. So let's say someone wants to give anonymously. Is that considered still giving in the same way?
Okay, so we are going to come to that, Ron. The difference between merit and blessings. Okay, I'll tell you first. The difference between merit and blessings lies in your intention. It is not in the act itself. It is not what you do. Last week we looked at doing, the Buddha said, even if you do something good which is as small as a drop of water or a hair, meaning something very small, like you just give a grain of rice to a little bird, or you see a hungry cat but you're more hungry than the cat, so you just give the cat a spoonful of rice, something like that, something very small. Whether it is merit or blessings that you generate depends on your heart, and we'll come to that. Okay, so it's the heart that makes all the difference, not the act itself. So all of you sitting down, listening right now, it is your intention that makes the difference between merit and blessings. Okay, so we're going to come to that very soon. So why is Master Yongjia says that giving with attachment merely creates heavenly blessings? Like I said before, when you give with attachments and you expect something in return, then although it is called bright karma, or in this case, he uses the word heavenly blessings because it might take you to the heavens if you do it very well. It is still within the conditioned realm, or otherwise within samsara, within birth and death. So Shufu says the arrow will fall back to the ground. If you shoot at the moon with an arrow, for example, or you're aiming at something in the sky, it can only go as high as a certain point, but then it will fall back down. Why? Because of your attachment. So one will invite misfortune in future lives. Well, Shufu says if you keep making offerings while having attachments or expectations, or ideas about what you want out of your gift for offering, Shufu says even though you have planted blessings, the blessings that you earn will not last. Okay? So think of it like a bank account. Shufu says they are temporary, like the blink of an eye, they are short-lived and they are marginal. And that is why they are not reliable. So Shufu says inviting misfortune in future lives. Okay, one example is this, and we have gone across the stories in the past classes when we talked about the heavens. Imagine you perform a lot of good deeds. You help a lot of people. You are very generous, but you do it with attachment. Okay, you do it either with the wish to be reborn in the heavens, or you just do it for blessings because you didn't know what right intention was. And then when your life ends, you are reborn in the heavens. So what happens when you're reborn in the heavens? Everything is there for you. But everything is there for you, not out of magic. It comes to you based on the amount of blessings that you have planted from previous lives. So that means every time you enjoy your blessings in heaven or even on earth, you are actually withdrawing your blessings from an account. And one day, your account is going to fall to zero. And when that happens, your life in the heaven ends, then you will fall. And if you have a very good life, like in the heavens, and you don't really have much opportunity to create more merit or more blessings, then it becomes really, really dangerous, because all you are doing is putting yourself in a position where you just keep withdrawing your money. Kind of like what's happening with the EPF in Malaysia. You just keep withdrawing your future savings. You withdraw, and then when finally when it's time for you to retire, you end up not having enough, and then you suffer. So just like that. All right. Okay. So now let's look at where does merit come from, and this is directly related to Ron's question. This is taken from the Mahaprashna Paramita Shastra by Bodhisattva Nagarjuna. And he talks about the intention of the donor, the person doing the giving or the person doing the act. He says the Bodhisattva who practices the perfection of wisdom is able to make distinctions between the merits of the gift due to the sharpness of his wisdom. Okay, so in the future, when you become a Bodhisattva, then you know exactly what's going on. But now, since we don't really know what's exactly going on, we'll learn from the Bodhisattva, who says that there are 6 things. Okay, first is the intention of the donor. Intention means what's in your heart. Okay, the second is the field of merit, or the recipient, the person who you're helping. Number 3, the intention, the recipient, and the gift itself. Okay, and number 4 is given free of attachment. So we just saw what happens when you give it attachment. So number 4 is you give free of attachment. That means you have no expectations whatsoever. You just give without expecting anything, even a thank you. All right. And then number 5, you give in view of nirvana. That means the reason that you give is so that you can become awakened just like the Buddha. All right. And number 6, you give in view of great compassion in order to save all beings. That means when you give, you are giving to benefit living beings, including yourself. Okay. It's not just giving to benefit living beings, including yourself, but it's very, very different from, say, wanting a better life or anything. Your intention is towards nirvana. Okay, so it's kind of like the same. Number 5 and number 6 kind of like the same. Okay, we'll come to this again. All right, we'll revisit this particular slide and I'll combine it with what we talked about last week. Okay, which is the intention. What is right intention? For now, let me see. Sue has a question. Says when one practices the Noble Eightfold Path, one is practicing the 4th type of karma that leads to ending of birth and death, but this is one's intention. Is it not obtain blessings? Okay. According to the Buddha in the sutra that we just read, he says the 4th category of karma, which is neither bright nor dark blessings, which leads to the end of rebirth, is called the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, along the way, okay, you will still generate blessings. That's for sure. Like when you give food away, to a grain of rice to a bird, or a spoonful of rice to a cat, you will still get your blessings. But it is your heart that determines if you also get married or not. Okay, so for example, say you have 2 people who are very rich, Okay, they're very, very rich. Both practice generosity. Okay, they're very generous, they're very kind-hearted, but one of them is slightly different because one of them understands the Dharma. And every time he practices generosity, he helps people, he prints sutras. In his heart, he has these 6 intentions that you see on your screen. So what happens is this person is practicing generosity based on the Noble Eightfold Path. So he's also accruing blessings just like the other person, but at the same time, because of the merit that he also generates, every lifetime or the next lifetime or in this very lifetime as well, he gets closer and closer to the Dharma. He gets closer and closer to his goal of ending birth and death, of ending suffering, or becoming a bodhisattva or an arhat, depending on what he wants. But he gets closer all the time with every act. Whereas the other person, they do the same thing. Okay, maybe they split it down the line 50-50. But because he is not he doesn't know the Dharma, and when he gives, he doesn't have the same intentions, so he doesn't get closer to ending birth and death. He still has the blessings, and in his next life, he will definitely be able to depend on those blessings. But in terms of his mindset, they are both very different. Okay, so there are still blessings. All right, blessings are there. No one can take those blessings away from you. But merit or no merit depends on the intention of the person. Okay, so now let's look at the story about the Buddha giving the rice. Okay, anyone wants to try? Okay, so it goes like this. This is from the same Shastra. It says, thus one day Shariputra, Venerable Shariputra, offered a bowl of cooked rice to the Buddha. The Buddha immediately gave it to a dog and asked Shariputra, you have given me some rice and I have given it to a dog. Which of the two of us has gained more merit? So what do people think? Who wants to try? Do you think the Buddha or Shariputra? Because
Shariputra?
Shariputra? Okay, why?
No.
No?
Because yes, Shariputra, because he by giving the bowl of rice to the Buddha, he gave the it's like he gave the Buddha an opportunity to do something of benefit from that bowl of rice. So another person also benefited from the rice when the Buddha gave the rice to the dog.
So you mean because when Shariputra gave the bowl of rice to the Buddha, he opened up the opportunity for the Buddha to also do something positive, for example, with the dog? Oh, okay, that's a very unique way of looking at it. Okay, anyone else? How many people agree that because the Buddha is like the most perfect being, has perfected both wisdom and merit and virtue, that as a field of merit, okay, as a recipient, there is no person more worthy of a gift than the Buddha. That's why Shariputra will have more merit, because the Buddha is a supreme field of merit and virtue compared to, say, a dog. Whereas you give to a dog cannot be compared to a Buddha at all, right? Okay, so Sue says depends on the intentions. Yes, definitely. That's the whole point of today. Is the intentions that makes the difference. Okay, so let's see. All right. So the Buddha asked Shariputra the question. Let's see what Shariputra answered. Shariputra answered, if I understand well the meaning of the Buddha's teachings, by giving it to a dog, the Buddha has gained more merit. Okay, so here we know it's not the recipient anymore, because a dog, you can't really compare a dog to a Buddha, right? So it's definitely not the recipient. Okay, so the Venerable Nagarjuna, in his commentary, he said, this is how we know that great merit comes from the intention and does not reside in the field, or the recipient. See, in other words, in the beneficiary or recipient of the gift. He said, had Shariputra given 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000 times more, he would not have reached the purity of intention of a Buddha. Okay, so the Buddha, by virtue of being a perfect field of merit, okay, the Buddha's intention would be very different. The Buddha's ability is the Buddha's ability to develop an intention is very, very different from how Shariputra would be able to develop. So, okay. So in this case, what Venerable Nagarjuna is trying to say is that who you give to can be important, but there are instances where your intention is more important than who you give to. Okay, for example, the Buddha gave to a dog, and you cannot compare a dog to a Buddha. So what is going on? Okay, what is going on? Okay, well, imagine this: the Buddha, being the Buddha, is able to see past all the forms, all your bad habits. He doesn't care about the clothes that you wear. He doesn't care about your education. He doesn't, what family you're born into and all that. He doesn't really care. But what he cares is your Buddha nature. And all he wants, if you look at some of the Mahayana sutras, you will find out, all the Buddha wants is to help you become a Buddha. So in contrast, when we see people, we don't see them for who they are. We see them for what we think they represent. Rich or not rich, stupid or smart, what else? Man, woman, educated, not educated, successful, not successful, this, we judge people. Okay, we look at them, we look at their outside, because we have no way to look at their hearts or their intention. So we naturally can't help but we judge people based on who we think they are. But the Buddha doesn't do that. Okay, the Buddha judges people based on his intentions for you. So by virtue of the Buddha being able to see the Buddha nature of all living beings, the Buddha sees you as a Buddha. Although he sees your potential to become a Buddha. And just like all Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, their goal is, how can I help this person realize his potential? So Buddha believes in you 100%. So we have stories where, for example, like remember the story where there was a man who had a lot of money to the extent that he buried his money under his bed, and then he died, and then became a dog. Remember that? And when he was reborn as a dog, he was reborn in the same human family, and he would guard that place under his bed, his old bed, and he wouldn't let anyone come near. Remember that story? I remember, if you don't. Then one day the Buddha walked past and the dog was barking at the Buddha, and the Buddha knew what was going on. And this person, when he was a human, he was very unfriendly to the Buddha before. So even as a dog, he would bark at the Buddha, and then the Buddha scolded him. The Buddha said, I know who you are. Okay, you cannot fool me. I know who you are, and you still haven't learned your lesson or something like that. And when the dog heard the Buddha, the dog became really ashamed and didn't want to eat. But the dog was the favorite of his son. And when the son came back, the son found the dog and wondered why was the dog so miserable. Then found out that the Buddha has scolded the dog, so he went to confront the Buddha, and then the Buddha explained that this dog used to be your father, and if you don't believe me, he's guarding the treasure under the bed, and it's a long story. Anyway, when you see a dog, right? But if, like in this story, you discover that, oh, actually this dog used to be your father or your mother or your brother or your son or daughter, how would you treat the dog? it will be absolutely different, right? You won't see the dog as a dog anymore, because now you have a bit more wisdom and you know actually what's going on. You won't be confused by the appearance of the dog anymore. So that's the Buddha. Okay, the Buddha is not confused by the appearance of the dog. So what does it feel like to have someone truly believe in you? Like how the Buddha believes in all of us? Well, Shufu has made a vow. Shufu's vow is if you have taken refuge with him, he will not become a Buddha until you become a Buddha first, right? Until you have achieved awakening, only then will Shufu become a Buddha. That's his vow. That's Shufu's way of saying that he believes in you. He believes in you so much that he's willing to wait until you realize your potential. Okay, I don't know how many of you have actually thought about it before. Okay, but that shows how much confidence Shufu has in you. So when you take refuge with Shufu, it's not how much confidence you have in Shufu. In fact, he has confidence in you. He has more confidence in you than you have confidence even in yourself. To be able to make that vow. And it's not an empty vow. When a bodhisattva makes that kind of vow, it's not a vow like I just wait for you. You know, quickly hurry up. I'll wait for you. Don't make me wait. It's not that kind of vow. It is when you take refuge in me, my commitment to you is I will try my best to help you realize Buddhahood. It is an active. Shufu is not going to be passive, waiting for you. You know, sitting in meditation, in nirvana, in meditation bliss while you suffer. No, he's going to be helping you as much as he can, as much as you allow him, so that he can help you realize your potential. Okay, we'll come to that when we come to the Vimalakirti Sutra. Okay, so that's how the Buddha sees the dog. The Buddha doesn't see a dog like we do. The Buddha sees an unrealized Buddha. So the Buddha's intention towards the dog is very, very different. It's not helping the dog alleviate his suffering or, alleviate his hunger or anything like that. No, the Buddha is thinking about planting positive affinity to the dog, so that in the future, when the right conditions arise, maybe the Buddha can give a teaching to the dog that the dog can understand, either as a human or as something else. Okay. So that's why Shariputra giving a bowl of rice to the Supreme Being, okay, the one doubly perfected in wisdom and compassion. Or there are two things. Anyway, the Buddha is like perfected in everything. It is still the merit of Shariputra cannot be compared to the Buddha giving the same bowl of rice to a dog, because of the Buddha's intentions or the way the Buddha sees the dog, and the intentions of the Buddha for the dog cannot be compared. All right. Okay, let's explore a bit more. All right. We'll look at the Vimalakirti Sutra. Okay. So in this part of the sutra, okay, we'll look at what happens when a person like the Buddha with, great merit, great wisdom gives a gift. Okay, so this section starts off with wholesome virtue as a lay person. The Buddha asked him to pay a visit to Vimalakirti because Vimalakirti is sick. So Vimalakirti is a lay person, but known as a bodhisattva. The bodhisattva manifesting in the body of a lay person. So wholesome virtue tells the Buddha, as a world-honored one, when Vimalakirti taught this Dharma, we are halfway through the sutra, so it may not make sense. It says 200 people from the multitude of brahmanas brought forth the resolve for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. What's Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Is the resolve, is the wish to resolve upon Bodhi. In other words, you make a very firm commitment to walk the path, to undertake the Noble Eightfold Path. So for all of us, that would be different. So some people is leaving home. So some people is taking refuge. For some people is taking the 5 precepts. There are various stages that you go through. And then in the sutra it says, my mind attained a purity I had never known before. I bowed my head to the ground with Malakirti's feet. Right then I removed my jewel necklace worth hundreds of thousands of ounces of gold and offered it to him. But he refused to accept it. So this person was so moved by Vimalakirti's teaching that on the spot, he, without thinking much, he just took off a very precious necklace and wanted to give it to Vimalakirti. I urge him, layman, please accept this necklace and do with it whatever you wish. So sometimes you meet someone who is just so selfless, they are doing so good things that you just want to support them. It's spontaneous. There's no deliberation, there's no thinking involved. You just, they're doing something really good and I want to support them in whatever way I can. So that's what happened to this person. So what happened? It says, then Vimalakirti took the jewel necklace and divided it into two. He offered one half to the lowliest beggars among the multitude and gave the other to Tathagata, difficult to conquer. So he took the necklace, separated it into one he gave to the Buddha, called difficult to conquer, and the other one he gave to the beggars. All right. It says, everyone in the assembly saw this Tathagata, difficult to conquer, who lives in the land of brilliance. So this Buddha appeared. In the air above that Buddha, they saw the necklace transform into a jewel platform of 4 pillars, splendidly adorned on all sides with adornments that did not obstruct one another. Okay. Then, having displayed these spiritual transformations, Vimalakirti said, if a donor can give impartially to the lowliest beggar, just as the Tathagata, who is a field of blessings, impartially bestows great compassion without distinction, seeking no reward in return, this is called the perfection of the giving of Dharma. And then he says, one of the lowliest beggars in the city, hearing what Vimalakirti had said and witnessing his spiritual power, brought forth the resolve for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Meaning he realized that, I want to practice to be just like these people, just like the Buddha, just like Vimalakirti. So can you imagine if you put yourself in the shoes of this beggar, someone who is usually ignored or shunned by society, or people just ignore, you're invincible, people pretend that you're not there, they see you, but it's a lot easier for them to act as if they don't see you at all, so they don't have to deal with you. And then along comes this layperson who is very, very famous, and they get a great gift. And the gift is so great that this person gives half of it to the Buddha. But at the same time, the remainder half, you get a portion. How would that make you feel? Well, it obviously had a great impact on this beggar because he immediately wanted to be like them. So one thing about practice that we have to understand, especially for the Mahayana path, is that a Buddha becomes a Buddha because he's able to treat everyone like a Buddha. Okay? That's how you become a Buddha. That's why when he gave the bowl of food to the dog, the merit far surpasses giving the food to another Buddha. Far surpasses Shariputra giving the food to him, although he's the supreme field of blessings and merit. Okay? So if you want to be a Bodhisattva, you have to treat everyone like a Bodhisattva, then only can you be a Bodhisattva. That's what the Bodhisattva precepts are for. You want to be a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, you undertake the Bodhisattva precepts. The Bodhisattva precepts help you, to develop the heart and compassion of a Bodhisattva, but not for yourself, not when you look in the mirror. No, when you look at everyone else. Why? Because how do you apply the Bodhisattva precepts? Not when you're talking to yourself in your bathroom. No. When you meet anyone, when you meet any living being, that's the opportunity for you to put the Bodhisattva precepts into practice. Right? So what a lot of people don't get is, if you want to be a Bodhisattva, then you treat people like they are all Bodhisattvas. You treat all living beings like they are all Bodhisattvas. If not, then what Bodhisattva do you want to be? You don't even understand what it means to be a Bodhisattva. I mean, you know the words, but you don't understand the spirit of the practice. So if any of you out there, you want to be a Bodhisattva, then you have to learn how to treat other people like Bodhisattvas. If not, then who you will be determined by how you treat people around you. If you look at it that way, then it makes perfect sense, right? That's why a Bodhisattva like Guan Yin, can do all those things for people like us. Because she doesn't see us as us, she sees us as Bodhisattvas. We are all Pusats in her eyes, all deserving of her her commitment to save us from suffering, from affliction, to put us on the Noble Eightfold Path. Shufu, waiting until all of us who have taken refuge have achieved the goal of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi before he does for himself. So that's what it means in Mahayana, or rather in Buddhism. Okay, the secret to being a Bodhisattva like Guan Yin is to act like Guan Yin, which is to treat everyone else like Bodhisattvas. Then you can be a Bodhisattva. Okay? Intention. Alright, intention. But for us, we'll come back to an easier way to look at intention, because we can't really figure out Guan Yin, but how you treat people, okay, always ask yourself, how do you treat people, and how would Guan Yin treat someone, and compare it to yourself. But also depends on your intentions. Not everyone wants to be a Buddha, not everyone wants to be a Bodhisattva. Some people just want happiness in their lives. Right? Okay, so it depends. Okay, it's not for everyone. The Bodhisattva path is not for everyone. Not yet. But if you are interested, then the secret lies in what I just told you. Okay? Alright. Now let's look at where else does merit come from. Okay, so there's a question. This question, I think, is someone asking Venerable Nagarjuna. He says, but you yourself have said that the importance of merit is the result of the excellence of the field of merit, meaning like who you give to. Okay? So Nagarjuna answers, he says, a good field also contributes to the importance of merit, but not as much as the intention of the donor. So this is kind of like a repeat. He says, why? He says, because the mind is the internal master, whereas the field is just an outer thing. Sometimes, however, the merit of generosity resides in the field of merit. So he says it depends. It's not all the time, it's just the intention. But why is intention very important? He says, because it is the master. Intention, our intention comes first before we do anything, before we say anything. It's intention first, then follows our thoughts. Whereas he says that whoever we give it to, it's an outer thing. It's outside of us. We can't really control. Okay? Then in this Shastra, he gave an example of how he said there was an arhat, and this arhat just offered a single flower to the stupa of a Buddha, like a temple, just one flower. And as a result of this flower, he enjoyed happiness among gods and men for 91 kalpas. So I think this was before he became an arhat. Yeah. So before he became an arhat, there was this man who just offered a single flower. Only one flower. You can pick any flower from anywhere. And the difference, and how you say, but he did it his intention was so great that he had 91 kalpas worth of blessings from there, or merit. And at the end of that, he became an arhat. Then he said there was a king, King Asoka, who has a small child. He collected some dirt from the ground and made like a small statue as an offering to the Buddha. And he said, although what King Asoka offered as a young child was very common, that means is dirt, mud or dirt is nothing valuable at all. But it was his intention of the child which make a difference. And he said, although as a child his intention was weak, but because he offered to the Buddha, okay, it's a bit complicated. We don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Okay, let me see. So let's move on. Okay. To recap. All right. To recap, we already looked at these 6 things on your screen. The intention of the donor, the field of merit of the recipient. It means how much virtue they have. The intention, the recipient, and the gift. Okay, these 3 things. But the catch is you give it free of attachment. You have no expectations. So whether the gift is something valuable or not, or whole sentimental value or not, does not make any difference. Okay, it's not easy. I remember there was once when we had a delegation to Europe, I had my beads on my hand, which was my favorite beads, and was trying very hard to practice without attachment, and so I gave the beads away to someone who I thought, that someone saw the beads and liked the beads. And so I just gave it away. I said, okay, I'm going to practice like a bodhisattva, give without attachment. So I gave the beads away. Until today, I still miss the beads. Okay? So, attempt totally failed. I couldn't fulfill the intention. It's true. Until today, I still miss the beads. Sometimes I wish I had never given the beads away. Yes. So it's not easy to give free of attachment. Okay. Number 5, given in view of nirvana. What does that mean? And number 6, given in view of great compassion to save all beings. Okay. Under right intention under the Noble Eightfold Path, okay, which underlines all practices, whether it's Theravada or Mahayana, it's explained what right intention is as these 3 things. Okay, the intention of renunciation. We did this last week. Intention of renunciation. As you give, you want to give to lessen your own desires. And if you are Mahayana, you also give to lessen the desires of other living beings. So the intention is very wholesome. You're not giving to get, but you're giving to give even more away. Okay, so if you have money, you give and you wish, like for example, I give my beads and I wish that I'm not so attached to my beads. Something like that. Although I can't do it, but at least I have the intention. Or I won't say, please don't make me regret a few years down the road that I gave away my beads. Yeah. So the intention of renunciation. Easier said than done. Okay. Number 2, the intention of goodwill. When you give, you want to make living beings happy. But the goodwill is more than just goodwill. It is compassion. It is the wish that they are free from suffering forever. Okay, so goodwill and compassion. And number 3, the intention of harmlessness. This kind of combined with the 2. That means when you give, you want them to be free of harm. No harm comes to them and yourself. So you can do these 3 whenever you do anything. Okay, so like when you're listening to the sutras right now, like Ron, like all of us, when we investigate the sutras, when we're listening, you ask yourself, can you do number 1? Or can you do number 2? And do number 3? All this. So harmlessness is your thoughts. As you, after listening, the way you treat people, the way you think about people, and the actions that you do. But what is more important is number one, okay, renunciation, giving so that we have less attachments and desires. Because that kind of combines most of, if you look above the 1 to 6, that's the key to getting most of that. All right. So the difference is not in the doing, the difference is in the mind. You can have two people do the same thing, one person not aware of right intention, and it is left up to that person whether he's creating any merit or not. Blessings will definitely be there. But the second person, if he has his heart in the right place, in accordance with the Noble Eightfold Path, in accordance with the wishes of the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, and Shufu in wanting us to get out of samsara, getting out of suffering, then not only do we have blessings, but we create merit at the same time. Okay, does that help? Okay, so let's look at one example, a really, really good example of creating merit. Okay, this is Visakha, the Buddha's chief patroness. If I'm not mistaken, Visakha is the one who grandson died. And she went to the Buddha. She was very sad. And the Buddha said, "Do you want the whole of the city to be your grandchildren?" She said, "Yes." Then the Buddha said, "How many people die in a day?" And then she realized, oh, so many people die in a day. If everyone's my grandchildren, then every day I'll be sad. And she understood. Okay, anyway, coming back to this. So I just go through this very quickly. She asked the Buddha for a favor. Okay, the Buddha said, "I don't give any favors." But she said, okay, but she's asking for a favor because it's for a good reason. So the Buddha said, "What do you want to do?" She said, "Okay, I want to be able to give gifts. I want to be generous to the order," meaning the monastic monks and nuns. It says in 8 ways. Number one, I want to give robes for the rains. Rains means the rains retreat. Every year, the monks and nuns assemble for 3 months. So she wants to make sure all of them have proper clothing to wear. Number two, any monks that come, this includes nuns, when they come to the city, she wants to be able to provide them with food. Any monks that leave the city, also she wants to provide them with food. She wants to be able to provide medicine for monks and nuns who are sick. She wants to be able to provide food for monks and nuns who are sick. And then she wants to be able to provide food for monks who are taking care of the sick. And then she wants to always have porridge available. And number 8, she wants to provide bathing robes for nuns to bathe in the river. Excuse me, let me just drink some water. And then Buddha said, "Why do you want to make this 8 gifts or 8 ways of giving?" So she explained her 8 ways. We don't have to go into the details. It's interesting, but it's not relevant to our discussion. Basically, it's like for monks who are sick, they may not be able to go out and they may not be able to get food. So she wants to be able to provide food directly to them. And for monks who are taking care of the sick people, they might be so busy that they have no time to go out and collect alms, and then they don't get to eat, then the people who are sick don't get to eat, so she wants to bring the food to them. Something like that, all right? Okay. She has her reasons, very good reasons. Then, after she had explained all these reasons, then the Buddha asked her a very important question. The Buddha said, ask her what inner benefits she expected. So what were her intentions? I mean, her intentions was clear, like to help the monks and nuns, but really, what is the result that you want from all this giving? Okay. So in the way the encounter was written, the author said, her answer shows how subtly and profoundly she had grasped the distinction between outward acts of virtue and inner mental training. Okay, what is that? So our answer was this. He said, as to that Lord, bhikkhus means monks, who has spent the rains in different regions will come to Savatthi to see the Blessed One. They will approach the Blessed One and question him thus, Lord, the bhikkhu named so and so has died. What is his destination? What is his rebirth? So people will come to the Buddha and say, oh, one of our your disciples have died. Where is his rebirth? And she says, the Blessed One will tell how such a one had reached the fruit of stream entry, or of once returning, or of non-returning, or of arahantship. What is this? These are the 4 stages of sages. Okay, stream entry is the first stage, and then you have the once returning, the non-returning, and then your arhat, where you have finally ended birth and death. And then she says, she, will approach the monks and ask, Lords, did that bhikkhu ever come to Savatthi, meaning the bhikkhu who has died? And they will say, if they answer that he did, then she will conclude that surely a rain's cloth will have been used by that bhikkhu, or visitor's food, or food for one going on a journey, or food for the sick. Basically, if she finds out that this monk had been successful in their goal of becoming a sage, and they had passed by the city, then she knows that, oh, good, that means I've done something, I've contributed to this monk before, either give some food, or give some cloth, or, So she says that when I remember this, when she finds out, oh yeah, I gave that monk a cloth, then she says, I shall be glad. When I am glad, I shall be happy. When my mind is happy, my body will be tranquil. When my body is tranquil, I shall feel pleasure. When I feel pleasure, my mind will become concentrated. That will bring the development of the spiritual faculties in me, and also the development of the spiritual powers and the enlightenment factors. This, Lord, is the benefit I foresee in myself, asking the 8 boons of the Perfect One. So you see why she's asking the Buddha for permission to do all this? It's not because she wants heavenly blessings or anything like that. No. Because she understands that by giving, especially finding out that the person she supported has become a sage, because there's no greater joy if you're a Buddhist, all right? She knows that she will feel really, really glad. And when she's glad, she will be happy. And when she's happy, the body will calm down. And when the body is coming down and you meditate or you recite the Buddha's name, you want to do your bowing, the body doesn't fight with you, so you feel very relaxed. So that's what she means by pleasure. And when the body is not fighting against you, sometimes when you sit, you get a feeling that your body is no longer there. Then it helps you become concentrated. Okay? And then she says that will increase her spiritual faculties, her powers, and the enlightenment factors, meaning she herself wants to get enlightened as well. So you see her intentions for giving. Okay, let me go back a few slides. Sorry for the flashing on your screen. Okay, you see the intention of giving in orange, intention of renunciation, the intention of goodwill, and the intention of harmlessness. These are all there in her giving. All right. So let me go back to. So in terms of a graph, this graph starts with precepts, but it's kind of the same. Whether it's precepts or generosity, you go through the same process. I've shared this graphic before. So then the Buddha said, good, Visakha, the enlightened one replied, it is good that you have asked the Perfect One for the 8 boons. For seeing these benefits, I grant you the 8 boons. And in the end, she got her wish. She was a stream enterer herself, although she was not a nun. She became a first stage arhat. Isn't that great? So you see the merit that she got from there. And all right, we come back a circle in the Maha Prashna Paramita Shastra. Nagarjuna says, by means of generosity, precepts, and patience. This is a recipe. A recipe for what? A recipe for the fulfillment of all of one's wishes. What do you need? You need 3 ingredients. You need generosity, you need precepts, you need patience. When you have these 3, what comes out? Great merit, great peace, and great joy are obtained. great renown and the fulfillments of all one's wishes. Of course, it doesn't say you need to have right intention in the first place. Okay. So it says, having appreciated the flavor of these benefits, the Bodhisattva now wishes to progress and obtain rapture and wisdom. So Visakha, in her position with the Buddha, obviously knows how it feels like to support the monks and the nuns. And she stated her wish very clearly, rapture and wisdom. She wants to progress in her practice. So Nagarjuna gives an example. It says, thus, when you get a flavor of what it's like to give with the right intentions, she says, it's like when you dig a well. You dig through dry earth, you dig, and then suddenly you find that as you go down deeper, the earth becomes moisture and wetter, and you know you're very near the water. So you won't give up. Instead, you would probably dig harder if you're very thirsty, because you know water is near. Or it says when you're trying to make fire by friction, that means you rub two sticks together or something else, you create heat and fire. When you see smoke, then you know you're very close to your goal, and then you won't give up. Instead, you will try even harder. So it says it's just like that. Okay? So renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. History makes all the difference between whether you get any merit or not from your acts of giving, or what it is that you do. Whenever anything positive in terms of the Dharma, any of your practice, reciting the Buddha's name, printing of sutras, bowing, reciting the sutras, mantras, all these things. Right now, listening, okay? Renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. These three things. All right, sorry, I've gone past time. Any more questions? So we didn't have time today for the protection of spirits. We'll do that next week. Does anyone else have any questions? Ron,
sure.
is it clearer
sure.
now? Yes.
I want to just recap everything that I've heard today. So in my humble way, I mean, the way I would do it, and would this be a good way to start? I mean, I know that intention is the key here. So I would ask myself, before I take an action, I would say, what is my intention here? And if I find that it is a worthy intention, like, I'm doing it selflessly and so on, then I should take the action. But if it's not, then I shouldn't take the action.
Or you can adjust your intentions, still make the action, because it's better to have blessings than, it's better to have blessings than nothing at all, and to help other, especially if it's helping another living being. You don't want, just because you haven't developed the right intentions, then you tell the person, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the right intentions, I'm not going to help you. No, you don't want to rob yourself. Creating the right intention is a practice of itself as well. So it's not something that everyone will have from the get-go. It is something that needs to be practiced as well. It's how you say, the more you do, like a bodhisattva, the reason why they can do something like that is because they can perform acts of generosity at that level, is because they have done it for so long, for so many living beings, and every time they hone their skill, they check their intention until it becomes second nature. So because all of us are on different levels, so every opportunity to help to practice, or any act of generosity or any act of holding the precepts, is an opportunity for us to reflect on our intentions and to get that right. Then as long as we just do that one step at a time, one thought at a time, and eventually we'll reach the goal.
Thank you, Pasha. Amitopo.
Okay. So you want to ask something?
Yes, Pasha Amitopo. I'm looking at the text. By means of generosity, precepts, and patience, great merit, great peace, and great joy are obtained, which then lead to great renown and the fulfillment of one's wishes. I basically feel that if Pasha can next week elaborate on this, I think this is I need to basically see it, how does these things come about and how to go about practicing it. I think it is, I don't really see the whole picture. Maybe next week we can elaborate on that.
Okay, I'm looking at the same thing as you are, and I'm not really sure how to really explain, because
I know exactly. So I look at this, I'm thinking how this lead to great merit, great peace and joy, and then it lead to great renown and fulfillment of one wishes. Because what really bugged me is it fulfillment of one wishes. So this one wishes actually is our intention. If one wish is not so good, I mean, it's some of
okay. Don't look at it that way. Don't look at it from this is spoken more from someone, say, at a bodhisattva level. Okay, someone like Guan Yin Pusat. All right, so Guan Yin Pusat has practiced generosity, precepts, and patience for a long, long time. She has perfected these practices. All right, so by virtue of being able to perfect these practices, she is now enjoying great merit, great peace, great joy. Guan Yin Pusat is Zhi, great joy, great renown. Why? We all know who Guan Yin Pusat is. And fulfillment of all one's wishes. Guan Yin Pusat can help people. She can save living beings and fulfill those wishes of hers. Why? Because she has spent countless lifetimes practicing generosity, precepts, and patience. So apply this sentence to a bodhisattva, not to like us. If our intentions are 6:30 here and there, some are bad, some are good, does that mean we'll get them all fulfilled? No. This Mahaprajna Paramita Shastra is a very deep Shastra. It is speaking of the conduct of bodhisattvas. So within that context, it will make a lot of sense. So for us, maybe look at the first three first. Figure out what acts of generosity have I done that make me feel any peace or any joy? And then start there. Have I helped the precepts in any way, or have I shown patience that have given me great peace or great joy?
I think that's a good one. That's a good answer, Pasha.
Okay, yeah, but in terms of the context for the whole passage, it is look at Guan Yin Pusat for a full understanding of what that passage means. So that's why Guan Yin Pusat is not a Buddha yet, but she's getting there, and she has tasted how generosity, precepts, and patience, what is it like? Yeah. For us, we haven't really got to that, even to that stage yet. We haven't even paid enough attention to our own acts and the results of the things that we do. Okay, maybe if I can figure out more next week, I'll try to share. Okay, all right. But that was a very good question. Okay, Margaret, you have something you want to ask? Yes, Margaret. Okay, maybe not. All right. That sounded like a bird. Okay, let me get the where is it? The dedication of merit. Okay, so merit. If you're not sure you have any merit, then you make a wish. If you don't know how to make a vow yet, you make a wish. You say, okay, maybe, hopefully, whatever I listen to today will lessen my desires, my attachments, and I hope that anyone who listens on YouTube will benefit from this class. Okay, then you can share that merit. All right? Okay. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, let's do 3 bows to the Buddha. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Rebel Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, everyone. Sorry for ending today's session late. We'll see you next week. Amito